Alrighty, guys, we are going to start now. Thank you again for everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining us for another workshop. Super excited for today's one. And also, the venue that we're hosting it in is very different to our typical venue. This is one of Loz Hyde's builds, and it's perfect for this workshop, I think. So I'd like to introduce our two special guests today. Both have been around in SL for a long time creating. I think we're familiar with all of their work. And are also a real life couple too, which is a first for our workshops. They're our first real life couple to be to be here as our guests. So everyone, please give a big hand to Loz Hyde of Meshworx and Ria Bazar of Bazar. And also, I should mention that when they're a real life couple, I mean, they're literally sitting next to each other, so you're only going to see Loz's microphone light up because they're using the same microphone, which I think is also pretty neat too. So thank you guys for joining us. I know it's like crazy late for you in Europe, so I definitely appreciate you guys staying up late and doing this for us today.
No problem.
So I want to start off with you, Loz. You've been in SL, you've been in Second Life since, according to your profile, since 2006. So you've
Yeah.
been in here a long time.
Yep.
I want to go straight into your background too, because if people don't know about you, I think you got a really interesting background in how you got into Mesh and how you got into creating Second Life. So if you can tell everyone your background in creation and what you do in real life too.
Sure. Actually, I'm originally from England. I moved to America in 1985 to be a filmmaker. I was a cinematographer working on films, commercials for a little while. Around 2003, I switched careers completely into 3D. I worked on a movie called The Barnyard. It's an animated feature film as a Photoshop artist, and then I learned the software, the 3D software, and got onto their team as a character modeler and environment artist. And then I've basically stuck with that until today. I've been doing it ever since. And I joined Second Life in 2006 because two of my friends suggested it'd be a great place for me to come in and make some money because I model stuff and make stuff. And I came into Second Life and unfortunately just found Prims and thought I can't work with Lego. I mean, I loved Lego when I was a kid, but I just can't do this. I'm more used to manipulating the, Prims in Maya and 3D program. And so I left Second Life actually for a few years, came back 3 years later, and everything had changed. It was everyone was doing these events, and it was really cool. And just enjoyed living there and being a part of the community really until Linen Lab decided to bring Mesh into Second Life in 2012. At that point, I was thinking this is fantastic because I really have worked in Mesh for many years and was really rubbing my hands together thinking this is going to be great. I can really make some cool items and bring them into Second Life, as Mesh. And that's basically how it happened. Yeah.
That just made me feel really old that Mesh was brought into SL in 2012. I remember when Mesh was brought into Second Life, and I remember a lot of people. It had mixed reactions from what I remember, especially
Sure.
for the
Yeah.
fashion community, because I think I was more involved with fashion back then.
Right.
And I know for clothing creators, it was like a lot of them didn't like, were not happy about it
A lot of
because
yeah.
you could do more unique things with your outfits and clothes when it was prim. Um, and
Right. Makes
I
sense.
can't believe it was almost 10 years ago.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think a lot of creators doing builds as well, buildings were, people in general were scared because a lot of people had never used 3D software before. I mean, when you think about it, Second Life was created for people to come in together as groups and build together. And we used to have fun doing this,
Mhm.
messing around with stuff and whatever. But when 3D, when Mesh came, you basically became recluse because you're then working at home. Well, you're working at home anyway, but you're working on your computer outside of Second Life, creating things in, say, Blender or 3ds Max or Maya or whatever you're using for software. So you became more of a loner in a way, and it kind of split things up as well. And I think also people were very scared in the beginning because they had to learn this new software, and it's a large learning curve. You know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication to learn Mesh, maybe a year or two or whatever to really get into it. And I
Hmm.
think people were super scared about this. So yeah, the fashion industry because of the clothing and so on, and I think buildings too.
It was definitely a game changer too, because as soon as
A
Mesh
lot.
came around, I think everyone, it didn't matter what industry it was in SL, there were your go-to brands that were huge brands, but then as soon as
Sure.
Mesh came along, all of these new brands just emerged
Hmm.
out of nowhere. And so many like talented people came to SL because of Mesh and who were already familiar with the software
Right.
to
Exactly.
use, and I think that was also scary for some of the long-time creators that were already established in SL.
Yes, I think
Um,
so. Yeah.
so I want to get onto you, Ria. I think everybody here has at least owns some of your furniture, has owned one of your prefabs. I was telling you before we started this that the Arizona house was one of my first memorable houses that I owned. I've had a lot of houses in SL, trust me. And but the Arizona house was one of my one of the earliest that I can remember. I loved that house. So I want to get into your background now. Introduce yourself. How did you get started in SL? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, my story is like completely the opposite. I'm pretty much self-taught when it comes to creating mesh and creating 3D contact for VR. But basically, Um, I finished 4 year of interior design school
Hmm.
when I was in Croatia. Still, I was very young. I was 15 years old, and then afterwards, I wanted to study something that had to do with interiors, furniture, but there was no such a thing here. So I actually went to study fashion design.
Hmm.
Did that for 3 years.
In Germany, right?
No, that was in Croatia.
Oh,
That was
okay.
fun. Yeah. And when I was a student, I saw this documentary about Second Life, and it seemed kind of super interesting. Like it was like you could be whatever you want, you could look like whatever you want, you could create. And I was like, yeah, okay, I want to see that. And so I just came in and started basically creating right away. Um, yeah, I was like totally into it. I loved the prems because like I didn't have any education. I didn't know Maya, I didn't know Blender, I didn't know anything, you know. So this was kind of cool at the time. And yeah, I did it for a couple of years. I didn't sell anything, but then I think I think it was actually no after my studies when I moved to Germany to study my masters. Um, I needed a little bit more of extra income, so I started selling stuff in Second Life, and yeah, that's how it all kind of started.
Hmm. So you started out, so yeah, you had an interior design background then. So you started out with Prims. How was it for you when because you joined in 2008, and I feel like that's when Second Life was its most popular.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's when I started to hear about it too, around that time, and I remember seeing something similar to you. I saw an interview on TV, and it was like, oh, you can be whatever you want in this virtual world. You can do whatever you want to do. And I was like, oh, this sounds pretty neat. And I think around
I know. At the time, there was
2007,
nothing like
2008 was
that.
the best. No, and
Yeah.
that it's still, in my opinion, too. Everyone's different. I'm sure everyone's got a different opinion. That was still the best time in SL. I think I don't know. The vibe of SL was different then than it is now. I mean, it's still great now, but back then there was something about it that was just different. And I don't know if it was just because that was when I was new into it, or when there was a big influx of people, and that's when it got the most media attention. But something was different about SL back then. So you had already joined and you had been creating. So how was it for you with the transition into to mesh and jumping on that train?
For me, it kind of happened organically, I guess, because at that time I already started to use Blender because of sculpted prims. Um, I would do stuff in prims, and then since I didn't know how to create sculpted prims at the time, I would buy certain kits which were full perm, and then I would just totally disassemble them and create my own thing out of them. And pretty soon I realized, oh my god, I need a certain piece to look exactly like that. I can't find that. So I'm like, okay, let's learn how to do this. So yeah, I downloaded Blender, and then I just like looked at it, clicked around, and I closed it for like months because I'm like, I don't understand this at all. Um, but yeah, I actually eventually ended up doing a couple of sculpted prints for myself, and then soon enough, yeah, they introduced mesh, and I was like, yeah, I was like super confused. I didn't know what that's gonna be. I didn't know what that even mean. I was like, what is mesh? What does that even mean? People were saying like in fashion, for example, oh, the clothes are going to move with your avatar, and I was like, is the furniture gonna move? Like, am I gonna
Mhm.
see the cushion? You know, kind of like when I sit down. I was like
Mhm.
totally confused. Yeah, but then slowly when I saw people starting to bring mesh content in, then I was like, oh, okay, this is what it is, and saw a couple of tutorials, and then yeah, started creating mesh.
Just got stuck into it. I forgot to mention for the audience too, you guys don't forget as always send in your questions because I'll ask all the questions that you guys send at me throughout the chat. So ask about anything. Loz and Ria already told me that they're pretty much an open book, so you guys can ask whatever you want to ask. So I am those to me because I am going to ask those questions as we go through, and I always do my best to ask all of them or at least one question from each of you. So start sending those in. I did get some already. So let's go back to you, Loz, and the start of your brand in SL. Do you remember what your first creation and release was for Meshworx?
Yes, it was the factory loft.
Okay.
It was I think the first one was actually in the sky, so it was like a um, skybox, and then I made it into a ground version. I think the next thing after that was the Jesse couch, which had the Union Jack on it, the Chesterfield.
That I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that is still like one of the most famous pieces of
Really? It's
SL
like
furniture created. I'm sure you guys in the audience have seen this. It's a Chesterfield couch. It's got the Union Jack on it,
yes.
and I still see this sofa around. It's like
Yeah,
this
it's
is
crazy, isn't
definitely one of the most popular furniture pieces created in SL. I think it's
Well, I think
iconic.
probably one of the first. I wouldn't say I don't know who brought out something first in mesh, but I was definitely biting at the bit. I was actually already in the beta sim, the mesh sim or whatever. They
Hmm.
had like an open sim. Linden owned an open sim that was just like a beta testing or a mesh testing. And so I was over there testing cubes, trying to see how many textures I could get on things, and playing around with all kinds of stuff just to see what exactly I could do, and that's before, of course, materials too,
Yeah.
which is interesting, when they brought materials out with the bumps and everything.
Yeah,
And
this
you.
was actually the first store I went to, I think.
You never bought
Like,
anything though.
you were too expensive.
I
You
had
went.
some of her stuff, but she has never bought any of my stuff because it's too expensive. That's the
Interesting.
thing.
Interesting.
No, but I remember going to your store and I saw this lamp which you created, which had like those holes.
Oh yeah,
It was like a
I remember this one too. Yeah.
fruit
yeah,
lamp, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. And I was like, wow, how did he do that? That's just
But
so
that's
amazing.
that's something I really enjoyed doing, and I love that people started to really understand mesh and start building it and bringing it into Second Life. And of course, you have to up your game every time this happens, because then we start putting hinges on doors, and screws into the door, into the hinges and stuff, and so
Hmm.
everything becomes super detailed. But I love this process, but we keep upping it all the time. So yeah, if someone would do something cool, and I'd be like, damn, I've got to do something even cooler now, or try, so
Uh,
yeah, I try and do things complicated.
I remember one of my earliest purchases from Meshworx that I can still remember, and I used it all the time. And it's such a small thing too. It was you had these collection of vases, and you had them in different
Oh,
colors. You had like a greenish yellow, you had an orange one, I think a teal color, and I remember those, and I used to use those all the time. I think that was one of my earliest purchases from your store.
that's crazy because I think I know which ones you're talking about. So I used to do the 50 Linden Friday,
Hmm.
and I started making a couple. I'm like, I got to put like crackle on this. I got to put, black, white, you know, uh, tortoiseshell, whatever, all kinds of stuff. And I end up with 28 of these things.
Hmm.
And I put them all in, outside my store for 50 Linden Friday. And the owner of 50 Linden Friday, I am and said, you're only supposed to have 3 items, for 50 Linden Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I created just, tons of these things. It was hilarious, but
I
it was
love that though. I love little things like that. And one of my favorite pieces now, honestly, and I have it in my house, my current house, and I just did an open house there yesterday. But you have these really amazing potted plants that I've only just discovered.
oh,
I don't know if
the
like the olive trees, you
olive
got the
trees. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was a collaboration, actually.
These are one of my favorite pieces right now, and I have all of them, and I have them at my house outdoors. I use them outdoors.
Right.
If you
Oh,
guys have not seen these
Awesome.
plants, definitely check them out because I love little things like these, like going
Right.
back to the vases, like little things like that that you can personalize, and I just think they're really neat little things like that.
So Ria made the trees, and I made the pots, basically.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm gonna go into that too because I want to know you guys like collaborating together and working together. I have some questions from the audience that I want to start and ask. This one is from Emerald. It's for you, Loz, and it's a really good question. It's a really good question. She's got one question for each of you. So, Loz, Emerald's question is: being a filmmaker, do you see yourself creating items geared towards those who do machinima films in SL, like, for example, building out faux communities or filming outdoor spaces?
The answer would be no, actually. I don't. I actually was going to make a film, being I am a filmmaker. I was thinking of making a film and started to build some stuff like you're saying, but never did. I would say that I think I try to make my stuff super mod, so you can mod it super easily, and you can really pull things to pieces. I even have exploded views of some of the houses, so you can see all the pieces you get. And I guess that would lend itself to machinima, where you may want to have pull out a wall, because I mean, when you're shooting in a film, you only have 3 walls usually on a set,
Mhm.
so you're shooting with a wall missing. And so if you want to put that wall back into a reverse shot, you could do that quite easily with my builds because a lot of the walls come apart like this. So I guess you could use them that way, but that's not something that I've really thought about, when I'm building.
Okay. I have a question here for you, Ria. These questions are going to be all over the place too, so they're going to be
that's okay.
totally different things. Because I'm just going to ask them as they come. So this question is from Babe for you, Ria. She was wondering if you would consider making crockery sets for our cupboards and shelves to match the dispensing food plates and sets.
I actually got that question, I think, already.
For somebody else.
um, well, yeah, I totally see that and why that would be totally awesome, because I do love. It was you. Oh my God. Okay, so I remember I got that. I was super busy. I think I was just creating my next dining set, and anyways, yeah, I love. I for some reason I love doing those dining sets, and I just
You're so
love.
good at them.
Yeah, and I'm selling them really good. People like them. I don't know why. Like at home,
You put tons of stuff in them, that's why.
I
You
know,
have
but
tons
like
of
at
stuff.
home, I never make like a beautiful dining, set thing. Like we just put plates and food, and don't think about it that much. But yeah, in Second Life, I really, really enjoy it, and yeah, that definitely stayed in my head. I was thinking about that. Yeah, that's a great idea, I think.
Yes.
You have a lot of details in your dining sets. I think that's what people like. And the animation, someone just mentioned the animations
Yeah,
too.
And food as well. She has lots of
Food,
food
yeah.
as well. When you res out the food, it's pretty amazing.
I want to ask you guys, because you have Meshworx, you have Bazar, but you also have Elevate too. Now, is
Right.
that your brand together?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you guys decide that you wanted to? I mean, it's natural that you
Yeah,
guys would want to do
really.
something together.
Yeah,
Um,
we just felt, you know, it seems to be the
Yeah.
natural order of things, really, to
Yeah.
do something together as a team. I mean, she has her own style. I have my own style, but we actually do share a lot of the same aesthetics, I guess. The fact that
Yeah.
we built our own house, you know, that we like the same type of things. Although she has a very different aesthetic, I think, to Bazaar as I have to Meshworx. But it's funny because we actually together work really well. So yeah, it was just seemed inevitable really to do that.
I was going to say about the style, for you guys in the audience that don't know, they actually they live together now in a house that they built together in real life too, which is a really neat story that they're two creators in SL that have built houses, and then they came together and they actually live in a house they built in real life too. So that's good that you have uh, similar
Thanks.
tastes.
Yeah, it'd be bad if we didn't. That's for sure.
Right. It'll make it tough.
But, you know,
Um,
part of the process was actually taking it into Sansa. I know we're talking about Second Life, but we built the house in our 3D programs, took it into Sansa and walked through it in VR, which was amazingly useful because we really got a sense of the space, the heights, you know, the feeling of the place, and that really helped us to make sure what we were designing worked.
mhm. Why did you do that in Sansar and not SL? What's the
Because you can wear the
difference with?
headset. It's the VR headsets. We could wear the
Ah,
headsets
yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
and
just
actually
to
be
walk.
inside and be immersed
Yeah.
in it, which is uh, amazing to be able to walk through the place. I literally Google Earthed down onto the plot of land, and this is a brand new community that's being built. So there's a lot of vacant lots all around us, but we Googled it, built the entire neighborhood with the streets, and then we put the house right there where it's supposed to be. You know, so that when you're in it and when you walk out of it, it's surrounded by the trees. I took a 360 photograph and use it as an HDRI to light the scene as well. So when you're outside, you see all the trees and everything around as it really is in real life. So it really helped a lot.
That's neat. That's neat. We will come back to Elevate, but while we're on this, I want you guys to tell everyone your story because I think everyone loves stories of people that meet online, get together, especially when it works out, get together in real life, get married, build their houses, have kids. Um, so tell us how did you guys meet?
Well, we were both invited to come and test Sansar. Loz was actually one of the first 6 in there. I was invited a couple of months after that. Um, and yeah, at the time there was not that many people in, but I knew his work, right, from Second Life. And I'm like, hey, I know that guy, he's from Meshworx, and he had this grand hall in there. And anyway,
But you didn't buy anything.
No, she didn't buy anything. No, she gets it all for free anyway.
Yeah, was there anything free all the time? I don't know.
I don't think they even had a marketplace when I was in there. I mean, every
I'm
time
not
they
sure, yeah.
every time they updated the viewer, we lost everything that we'd built. For the first
Oh,
maybe 5 or 6 times, it wasn't saved, it wasn't backed up or saved out to somewhere. So they literally would rebuild the viewer, rebuild the software or whatever, re-upload, you know, update it, and when you get the update, you know, just update it, and you come back in, and there's nothing there anymore in your inventory. It's all gone. So I had to rebuild the Grand Hall like 5 times. It was
oh,
crazy
geez.
back in those days. Yeah, but anyway, yes. So we met through Draxter, you know, who does the Drax files and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so actually he was creating his own space there. Well, he asked me if I would have any ideas or if I can like get some content for him, and then we started brainstorming. We got into this huge idea. Anyway, it turned from like 10 items to like this entire village, like neighborhood with houses and stuff, and became very popular. And but Drax wanted the Jesse
He
couch.
wanted the Jessie couch, yeah, to come into Sandstar, so I had to rebuild it for Sandstar.
Right. So I'm like, yeah, great, that would work perfectly. And anyway, so he told Loz, here, like, contact Ria, she's the one doing it. And then like, wait, you're Ria from Ria Bazar, and I have your stuff in Second Life.
So I started flirting with her a little bit.
Yeah, but anyway, it was really nice actually. That was like, I really cherish the experience in Sansar because I've met so many creators there, because it
Right.
was more of a relaxed setting, where here in Second Life we're always busy, we're always working, we're always creating something, and there we were all just chatting and just sharing experiences.
I think also though, because we were there testing, it was a closed test, you know, we were invited in to do this. So our opinions mattered, you know, and we give a lot of opinions, and we try to also break it, bring as much stuff. And I brought 1 million polygons in, a massive model of, I worked on Terminator, so I brought in the hunter killer, which is this big ship that flies, and it was 1 million polygons, and it came into Sandstar no problem. And you know, we were just trying to break it. But what was also cool was had direct contact with all the Lindens that were working in Sandstar, at least, and Eddie was there as well. And so we'd have these weekly get-togethers, and all of us, the creators and the Lindens, were all together, all yip-yapping about all kinds of stuff, and that really kind of made a very kind of family feel, you know, to the whole experience of being in Sandstar.
Yeah.
So that was what was so great about that, I think. But anyway,
But we connected from the very beginning.
oh, we totally did, yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of like the same stuff. Yeah, we hit it off pretty
That was awesome,
soon.
yeah.
And then yeah, soon after, Drax was filming some documentary in LA, and he was like, "Hey, would you like to come along?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then we met in real life, and went to San Francisco, went to Linden Lab. Oh my God, we loved it. We were like kids in candy store.
I'm sure, yeah.
I was
I'm
like,
sure.
oh my God, we're really here. Anyways, it was really awesome.
We met God.
Yeah, and then,
You know what it's like, you know, we're like the residents, and they're like the government, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you know, the Ebb is
oh
like God.
yeah, we loved it. Everybody was super nice. Yeah, after that we kind of stayed in touch, and then
What, 3 years, 3 months, and then you moved out again, or you came out again,
well, I
and then you
came
basically
out
stayed.
again, yeah, and then I kind of stayed. Yeah, we got married.
Stayed, we got married, went to Hawaii for a honeymoon, which was awesome, Maui, and then our baby popped out like a year after that.
Yeah.
And he's now 2.5 years old.
So you guys have done everything. You got married, you've had the kid, you
we-
built the house.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
lived the
well-
life, you know, we lived the dream in a way, I guess. I mean, that's...
You know, it's like we knew that this is right for us. You
Yeah,
know, from
yeah,
the very
yeah.
first beginning. Like, we both were married before. So when we met, we kind of already, you know, you went through certain things, and you're like, you know what you want.
You know what
or
you're looking
better
for,
yet, you
so
know
to
what you
speak.
don't want. And then we kind of just like, yeah, we hit it off, and we were like immediately, yeah, that's it. That's what I want. You know, we were very honest and open with each other, and
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing is, actually, since we met, we've never not talked for one day. I think maybe there was one day only, ever.
Maybe,
But we
yeah.
would Skype. I mean, she was in Austria, I'm in Los Angeles, and I'd be up until 3 or 4 in the morning, and I had to go to work, and she'd do the same thing. And I actually were working at home, I guess. But yeah, we every day talked. It was amazing. And then we sit next to each other. So we live together. We sit next to each other on this long table. We have our computers in front of us, and it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, always people say like, I could never work with my wife, or I could never work with my husband, but
no,
it's
it works.
effortless for us.
Yeah.
Actually, it works really awesomely. You know, we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And obviously you have the same interest too, with you both creating virtual worlds and making
Yes, and
things
you
like
know what?
events.
This
So
is another thing. Like Loz always said, it's hard dating sometimes, meeting new
Oh my
people
God.
who have no idea what Second Life is, and then explain to
Oh,
them
yeah.
you have a deadline. You know, sometimes even like on Christmas, New
Yes,
Year's Eve.
I'm sorry I can't go out on Saturday because there's a deadline for Uber.
I
yeah,
know.
exactly.
And they're like, what's Uber? What are you talking
Uh-huh.
about? You know.
I think
They
it's
don't
great.
get it. I have actually, yeah, been like, okay, I'm done with this stupid virtual world. It's like, hey, I make my living doing this, you know, and
Mhm.
actually it's not something to laugh about. It's actually pretty serious, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great story, and I think everyone likes a good Second Life love story.
To
Um,
be honest, real quickly, I would say also, I've always thought that it's very hard to find your soulmate in the same zip code. If that makes any sense.
mhm.
That person could be across the other side of the world, and I think Second Life allows us to meet people from all over the world. We connect and we learn about people from the inside out. In other words, we get to learn about who they really are inside their heads. And then we learn about them from the outside. But it's inside first. Whereas in reality, when you're in the real world, you learn about people from the outside in. You see someone, you're attracted to them, and then you start to learn about what they're really about. So this way, it's beautiful. I think it's like you're meeting your, spirit, so to speak, of someone. And
Mhm.
that's what's so amazing about Second Life, I think. And I hope that the metaverse, or whatever it might end up being, will be the same like Second Life. I hope there'll be this magic that we feel in Second Life.
Let's hope. Let's hope. We have to wait and see.
Yeah,
So you guys created Elevate as your brand together. What was
yeah.
your first creation that you collaborated on? Do you remember?
Yes, it was
I'm
the
glad you do.
Nobu dining set.
Oh yeah, and that's based after it's named after a restaurant in Los Angeles called Naboo, which is this beautiful Japanese restaurant.
It was the
Yeah,
dining set. I think that was the very first one. No,
I went.
actually, you know what? I'm
I
lying. It
went
wasn't.
to.
did they
It was the
build?
house. It
It
was
was
the
the house.
house.
It was the water
Tokyo house.
gardens.
The water garden. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Actually, Naboo was the first one we worked on together when I moved to LA. I was in Austria. We worked on the water garden. Yeah, that was awesome. But kind of exhausting because like I had to stay up entire night because we had this deadline and Loz was in LA and he's just
Mm.
like whatever. I'm like, dude, I gotta go sleep for an hour. I'll be back.
And I've been working full time at this company, a print company. I was the CG supervisor for all the 3D stuff, and I've been working in Second Life, looking over my shoulder, making sure no one's looking, and on Skype with Ria, at the same time. It's crazy.
I have a question from Connor, which is actually linked to the water garden that you just mentioned. Connor wants to know if you'll be making the water garden into a ground version.
Well, you can do that actually already. I think we've designed it,
Yeah.
although there's no windows on the outside, it's designed with a box that could be lifted off. There's also side panels, like vents that are like wood panels, like blinds. They can be removed, so you can actually join two together or
Yes.
join it to another building. So you kind of can use it as a ground level building.
Yes, and there is
But the front door,
actually
even actually, if you take the box off the front door, or there's an
you would
area
just
would be the
you would
front
just
you
have
could
to
make
make
into
a
doors,
yeah.
and that could actually be the front doors of the house.
Yeah, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. You know,
Yeah.
that's what Laws actually brings because he loves to do his buildings very modular and he always thinks about how people are
Oh
going to
man.
mod this. He drives me nuts sometimes because I think like this is your design, just do it how you like it.
No.
And he's always like, no, 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 look, people are going to use this. They might use it for a store. They might use it for this and that. I'm like, okay.
I think about the worst case scenario, and I'm thinking about people that are going to be IMing me saying, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this?" So I literally try to think of everything I possibly can to make it
Right.
as easy as possible for everyone to do. But again, you kind of have to have a bit of experience, with working with mesh and modding stuff, I guess. So there's that.
And you guys just did a release for your separate bands, but kind of collaborated too. This was for Custom 9, right? Was it Custom 9? Loz, you created the house.
Oh, that was for Uber. You mean she did the
Uber,
kitchen?
yeah. Yep. And
That's
Ria,
just
you created the
recently, yeah.
kitchen.
The last thing we did,
Right,
yeah.
right, right, yeah.
Is that what we've got in there right now? I think that is what we've got in there right now. Yeah, it is.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, that's the current run of
So
Uber.
that was really cool, wasn't it? Because we did the house, I did the house first, and then you were building your kitchen, and we're like, well, hey, look, this kitchen, we should design a kitchen because the layout of the house was, well, it's very simple, but some people might say, where's the kitchen going to go? And the funny thing enough, actually, I got an IM from someone today who had trouble didn't know where the door controls were or whatever. I went over there, and they put the kitchen in what I was going to have as a bedroom. So it's interesting
Oh.
that people want,
Hmm.
you can do it any way you like, I suppose. But Ria built a kitchen specifically to go where we thought the kitchen would go, you know. So she put that into Uber, and that can be bought as a separate item, but it can go along with, and I think she even named it the same as the house, so it could go with the house.
Yeah,
I love that you guys are doing that too. So you have your brand together, but also you create for your separate brands, but create pieces that can go
Yeah,
with
it's
each other's
modular pieces that
releases
can
too.
fit together. Yeah.
And we'll be seeing more of that too.
Let's see, why not?
possibly. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
for sure.
like we did with the olive trees and the pots. I
Yeah,
guess
we often have those ideas where we just like, hey, because I mean, it's hard not to. We work next to each other, so like, I always see what he's doing, and he's looking at, you know, when I'm just like googling around or looking at Pinterest, he's always like, hey, what's that? What's that? Save this.
Yeah, we have like we have a thing for Second Life in our Pinterest, you know, so she drops stuff in there that she thinks I might like, and I do the same for her.
I'm gonna ask some more audience questions. This is another question from Connor. This is for you, Ria. The Elevate dining place settings, will you make them so they res food like your Bazar dining sets?
Yes, definitely. See, this actually had to happen, but well, the thing is, I created my food menu quite a long time ago now. I would say a couple of years back, and I'm kind of bored of it. And people are like asking, "Hey, are you gonna do breakfast options? Are you gonna do those options?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I would love to do those. Cannot wait to update the menu." And so, actually, when we were doing the Naboo dining set, we started. Actually, Loz started to make food. And being a perfectionist as he is, he was like taking so long on the food that I was just like, we just cannot do it right now because I think we had a soup and we had a salad. And
that was it. Kind of stopped at that one.
Yeah, so
well, I photograph everything too, so I like to photograph my own textures, and I'm a photographer in real life anyway, so I have all the gear to do this. So yeah, I wanted to make sure everything was photographed correctly, and you know, it's always tough, takes time, and people don't understand. Well, you guys probably do, but a lot of our customers don't necessarily understand that this takes a lot of time to do, not just the design process and then the gathering of textures and creating of textures and building the objects and then bring them into Second Life and seeing what does and doesn't work. Say chrome or metal sometimes doesn't work, and you have to go back and redo things. It takes a lot of time to do all this stuff, you know. And then we have these events that we're, you know, rushed into having deadlines for, and you know, we don't rush into our stuff. But if we can't finish or put everything in there, then we don't, because we don't want to have a half-assed piece of, you know, something in there. We want it to be the best it can be.
yeah, I just said like, let's just create an amazing dining set and then just worry about food later. Unfortunately, I didn't just want to actually pack it with Bazar food as well, and I guess maybe I should have at the time, just because I didn't know it's going to take so long for us to, you know,
it's a time thing, isn't it? Trying
create,
to
yeah, because at the time I thought, oh yeah, we're going to be updating my food menu as well, but yeah, that's still on a to-do list, unfortunately.
I have a question for both of you. This is from Trixie. Trixie wants to know, what are your favorite items that you've made? So Loz, I'll let you go first with this one. What's your favorite item
that I've made? Oh wow, I don't know. I have a bit of an eclectic kind of selection of items. I love minimalist, I suppose. Well, I like the Summit house that I built recently. That's super simple, but it had a lot of nice textures with it. I think that the rust on it.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
I mean, I guess the Grand Hall in some ways, because I bought that out in just at the Showbiz Expo actually, where they only had 2 Sims for Mesh, because it was in 2011 at the end of the year, I think, and Mesh had just come out around that time. And I didn't put it for sale, but I just wanted to show what could be done with Mesh, and so I had it there.
So this was one of the first Mesh buildings in SL.
So it might have been, yeah, because it wasn't actually for sale, because I hadn't had time to really go through it and put all the, I actually I think I was using prims for physics because I just hadn't got around to doing all this stuff because it was so lengthy. But then it took me another year to finish that build. So I think in some ways this is really a close thing to my heart in some ways. So I'd say probably the Grand Hall is probably the ultimate thing, that because it's taken so long to come about.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly that, yeah, I guess. Sorry for the long
Oh, it's fine. No.
answer.
And what about you, Ria? What's your favorite item that you've created?
Oh man, so many. Well, I definitely love my first prim house, the little beach cottage. I really like that. I even recreated it in a bigger version, and funny enough, that house was copied so many times. I mean, not like stolen, but recreated by so many people in the marketplace. I guess it just has something. Yeah, people like that. But from furniture pieces, definitely has to be the Cancun dining set. That's
Okay.
actually I started that, I was about to give birth. And I started that forever, and I gave birth, and like a week later, I finished it. Yeah, but it's just, yeah, it's nice. It's so playful with like a lot of items. Yeah, very beachy.
Here's another question. This one's from Ollie. This is for both of you again. Do you remember the first item, the first time you sold something, and how did it make you feel?
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember. This was funny though. So I didn't have an in-world store. I had my beach house in the marketplace. So I think, I'm not 100%, but I think the person's name was David Bloom.
Wow.
I'm not sure,
You remember
but
the name?
that's what's in my head still.
She's a woman.
I don't know. And
Sorry, that's not sexist.
anyways, so he contacts me and he's like, "Hey, like I would like to see this house. Like, do you have it somewhere in the world?" I'm like, "No," and I'm like super shy, and I'm like, "Oh my God, somebody's asking me about my product." And so I went to the sandbox. I rented it out for him, and at the time we were selling our houses. Everybody was selling houses for a little bit more money than today, you know. So at the time, this house was $4,000.
Hmm.
And it's a quite a small house though, now thinking about it. And I showed it to this guy, and he was like, I love it, but you're gonna have to do some modifications for me."
Wow.
And I was like, it's like, I want to sell my first house. So I'm like, yes, whatever you need. So he's like, I would like windows here, I would like this, I would like that.
Did you
Anyways,
do it?
yeah, I did. I think he
Did
actually,
it help? Did it
yeah,
help you look at it?
he
Okay,
bought
cool.
it. He bought it. And after that, I think he made it double the size. He contacted me to show me. He's like, "Hey, look at this. Look at what I did to it." So I'm like, okay. Yeah, so it was not just straightforward. I sold something, so that's why I remember it so well.
What about you, Loz?
I don't remember the first person. I don't remember the first sale either, really. I can't remember if I used the.
What was your first item you had?
My
to
first
sell?
item was the factory loft, and I used that as my store up in the sky. And I was on a sim. I had rented a little space that I was living in, but I put this up in the sky as a build, and you weren't allowed to have commercial builds there, so I was told to take it down. But they didn't find out for a couple of months. I'm not sure if I sold something from that build first, or the Showbiz Expo when I put that same build in there, and but no, actually no, it must have been in that store because I had other things built by then. For the Showbiz Expo, I had a whole bunch of knickknacks and stuff. So it probably would have been that build, or the Jesse couch. Would have been either one of those were the first things to sell. Again, I can't remember who it was and exactly which one was first.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. It was.
Dell has a question. This is for both of you. Dell says, I absolutely love your collaborative brand Elevate. Will we be seeing more items, or was it a temporary project?
Definitely
Time
will be
committing.
seeing more. Yeah, time is the only issue. At the time we started, we
You didn't have a baby.
didn't have a kid. Yeah, that's like stopping us from doing a lot of things, unfortunately. Not that we love it. We love it. He's adorable. He's just really, really amazing kid. And so now we have to kind of, he's in preschool, so we have to work when he's in preschool and when he goes to bed. So unfortunately, we don't have that much time. But yes, definitely,
Oh yeah, for sure.
definitely, Elevate is, yeah.
Yeah, we really love to collaborate and have those
Yeah.
pieces that we did. It is just a time factor. There is so much stuff going on in real
But
life
it's so
and in
interesting
Second Life
that,
for us.
sorry, it's so interesting that Elevate is like actually what we both love. This is like our true kind of aesthetic. Like we both love mid-century modern.
Right.
So, but for me in Second Life, it was always hard to kind of make it look interesting, because the beauty of mid-century is the simplicity,
Right. Minimalist for sure.
Minimalistic, exactly. So what I love in Second Life is more creating something super cozy, where you want to go cuddle, stuff like that. You want to hang out, So for the longest time, yeah, I didn't do anything which had to do with mid-century. It was super hard. But then, like when we met, and we both like started talking about what we like, and we were like, we should create a brand that has this vibe. And
Right.
yeah, I think we kind of chose some good pieces which are interesting enough for Second Life,
I think we will get back into it as well probably after we finish this house. We haven't moved upstairs yet because I still need to do some drywalling and some painting and put the floors down and stuff. But I think once we kind of settle into this place and we have a bit more time on our hands, we probably will start doing a lot more stuff for Elevate.
Nice. I'll be honest, I went to the Elevate store in WoW for the first time in I don't know how long. The other day, and you guys had a lot of items that I didn't even know about. You had great beds, you had some really nice I got some really nice like wall sconces or lamps too. I bought some things while I was there. But if you guys in the audience haven't checked out the Elevate store, I highly recommend doing it because they have some really great pieces there.
Yeah, we if you do have a chance, just go down and check out the Sims. We tried to create a kind of Monte Carlo feel to the main area where we have Meshworx and Elevate, and then Bazar's going to be on another sim, which we have 4 sims joined together, but one sim is off limits right now because we're building the Bazar mega store, as well. I want to call it, because it's so bloody big.
Mega store.
But it has to be.
I have
There's
so
much
many.
stuff.
No, I have so many items, and Loz keeps saying, "Can we please call it Bazar Mega Store?" I'm like, no.
It is going to be a mega store. It is massive. It's probably 60 by 60, and it's 3 levels.
Oh
A
wow.
big atrium. It's going to be for her garden stuff in the middle.
Okay.
We also have a Deezer who does disco and nightclub turntables and disco equipment. He's on the sim as well. But we built this road that goes all the way around, and we wanted to actually have cars, so people could just jump in a car. We have cars there actually, but people would jump in and race cars around like Monte Carlo. And then we have the nightclub core, which is right below us actually. And then we have this kind of area that's like the Maldives, and a kind of a cute kind of palm tree area, which is also for like nightclubby, but more like a summertime thing. And then another little sim that's you can go sailing in and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you get a chance, go down and check it out. We wanted to make it very kind of interesting.
Like a
For people that come
hangout
out,
area.
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, the concept, just real quickly, the concept for the nightclub and that area is it's a sunken city. There's a bunch of high rises that are sticking out of the water, and the nightclub is one of those. But there's other little areas of high rises you can go on there and dance or hang out, and just or you can play greedy and stuff like that. Pool on one of them. It's kind of fun. Anyway, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so definitely guys go and check it out. And someone said in the local chat, make sure your wallets are full. Definitely. Definitely.
I'm not doing it to sell anything. Just look around. It's kind of, I think, fun around.
Ria, this question's for you. This is from Maddie. Maddie says that Bazar is one of the most affordable shops in SL.
Yeah.
how do you come up with the pricing?
Tell her about your background.
Well, you mean,
Yeah,
well,
she has a background in this in a way. That's why she's so damn smart.
okay. Well, I did study marketing and management for a short time in Germany. And so, yeah, I learned a couple of tricks there. I don't know. I guess one thing stayed with me when my first year, we had this thing called the business game. And for like a week or 2 weeks, we had a group of 3 or 4 teams, and we had to create imaginary product, and we would have all kinds of stuff like marketing for it, commercials, like there would be all kinds of assignments for it. And anyways, so they would put our numbers into this computer software, and the software would kind of calculate which company did the best this week or this day. So we were the only company which was kind of in the middle. We were not the cheapest, we were not the most expensive, and we were always doing the best. So I'm kind of like, you know what? Actually, I completely understand that, because, if you're selling high-end products, you are selling to just certain group of people. If you're selling something very cheap, you're also kind of selling it to another group of people. If you're in the middle, you have all the people, because people who like to hunt for bargains, they're gonna be like, oh, let me just pay a little bit more extra and get something from this, let's say, bazaar store. And people who like high end, they might say like, well, you know what, it's a bit cheaper, not something I used to buy, but like it's cute, and I'll just grab it. Anyways, this was the philosophy behind it. But I actually believe that people should enjoy Second Life. It's a different environment. People do tend to change their homes often. The furniture,
Yeah, I was going to say something about that.
yeah. So it's not like in real life where you save your money to buy a good sofa, which is going to last you for 10 years. In Second Life, people like to be creative. So I get that, and I think that it shouldn't be like overpriced
my
or too
prices?
expensive.
I have a different concept just real quickly of that, and that is that I find that what's happening now in events is it's a race to zero almost. A lot of, especially in home and garden, a lot of, well, some creators, not everyone, are offering their items at such a low price that it devalues all the other stuff, and we either have to race to get down to the same level, or not, I guess. But I think what it can do, it can actually mean that you buy something like IKEA, it becomes throwaway. And I think in a house, it shouldn't necessarily be that way. I think you should have a house at a reasonable price, but people should have a little bit of, not necessarily pride, but ownership, like feeling that they have spent a certain amount of money and they're going to keep it for a while now because it's something they really had to think about and made a good decision on buying, instead of just buying it for like 600 linden or whatever, and it's what they're going to use this week, and the next week they use something else. So I think in some ways, I think with Ria stuff, it works great with what she's doing because she's mainly doing dining sets and a lot of furniture. But with me, I do more, I guess, buildings. I don't want to bring my stuff too low where it just becomes worthless and throwaway in a way.
Yeah, this is something I guess a lot of people, not a lot of people, but we see often customers like, they want to see stuff being even cheaper, and we're like, there's a certain limit, because we also invest into our education, we invest into software, into textures,
sure.
into subscriptions. There's actually a lot that goes into a product for Second Life, so
You're paying for the whole package. You're paying for the expertise of the people as well that are making the stuff, not just the stuff itself.
And exactly, and time as well, of course. That's the thing. Like, it's not just the time,
Right. Yeah, it's obviously, as you all know, this is nothing compared to real life time and money. It's just like monopoly money in a way, and it's well, no, I shouldn't say monopoly money because that's actually quite a lot. But I think we work for a very small amount of money. I think where we actually make our money back is in the long term, when we start something over a period of time, over a year or 2 years, and we make our money back and then some. But the initial output and the fact that we have to also pay, for Uber 5,000 linden to get into it, to be in it as a creator. You have to recoup that money, then make your money on top of this, and it's nowhere near what the time you put into it until literally maybe a year later or 6 months or something. So there's that to take into consideration as well.
Well, there you go. We're gonna slowly start and wrap it up. I have a couple more questions that I want to ask. This is going back to your son. Does your son inspire you to make any children's items at any point in the future?
We were thinking about the nursery. Yeah, actually, even before I had kids, I wanted to actually create Bazar Kids, which would be like a separate line in my store.
Or you have the mega store big enough for it.
The thing is, it's kind of hard because because I love doing it for decorating, but personally, I don't want to like offend anybody, but I just find like the concept of kids in Second Life creepy. I don't know why.
Well, that's because they're 50-year-old people.
Because you're kids, and it's like, okay, I totally understand it, because Second Life, that's why that's the beauty of Second Life. You can be whoever you want and whatever you want, and as long as they're all consenting adults is fine. But that's the only thing which kind of stops me always from like, But as a decorative piece, like, love it. Yeah, I would love to do a nursery, definitely.
I have a question from another resident. I can't pronounce the name. I'm just gonna say Lush. Says, do you have any suggestions on where to start as far as learning mesh? So for anyone out there in the audience, it's like a budding designer that want to create their own mesh items, what advice would you give them on where to start?
Well, that depends. Like, so for example, I started, and I'm still using Blender because it's free, right? So basically what I did, I went to YouTube. Gosh, I can't remember. I actually found a lot of tutorials from somebody who actually is in Second Life. I don't know if anybody of you knows the name of the person, but the very first tutorial I watched was this Chinese lantern, very well explained and very simple. And I actually watched a couple of tutorials from the same person, and I learned a lot from that. But kind of, there's not like one place to go.
The good thing about Blender is that it's free. That's the first thing. I mean, you don't want to be forking out a ton of money on 3D software.
But if you are, for example, a student and you can get Maya for free, why not? You
can get Maya for free as a student. You can also get Maya with an indie license, which is $250, I think, a year, which normally is $1,500. But if you have an indie license, and this is available in Europe, Australia, and England, and America, of course. So there's that. So that's a more professional software. That's what all the movie business uses. The thing is this: you could progress from Second Life into real life and do this as a living in real life too, if you want to go that direction. So Maya will probably be the best for that. But to start with Blender,
slowly we are seeing now that there's a certain trend when they are hiring VR artists. Many companies are actually also searching for Blender artists. So I was like, wow, that's very nice to know.
Okay, that's good. So I know there's a lot of people out there that want to start and get into the creating game too. So that's good to know about Blender being free and ways to get other software. So I am going to. I have one more question. This is going back. This is for you, Ria. This is going back to the nurseries for the babies. Have you considered making a set that's compatible for the Zuby Animesh babies?
Not really, but I do know that, if that's something I would have to research. That's another part of it. Like, if I do create something for kids or nursery, then I have to go and research first people who are creating mesh avatars for babies and how they work. I know I once bought a crib, I think, just to see what's going on. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of differences creating for like smaller, tiny avatars than for adults, you know. So animations have to be different. There's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, if I would definitely have to do this research.
So it's possible then.
Absolutely.
Vicente Rain also wanted me to tell you for making excellent closets and for making
Thank
such
you.
detailed furniture affordable. So we are gonna wrap up here. I just want to thank you guys again. I know it's very late for you, or early, I guess, in the morning, for you in Europe. So thank you both for taking time out of your night to spend it with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
This was amazing. Yeah, awesome experience.
And again, thank you to everyone in the audience for coming. We do have our next workshop already planned. It's going to be 2 weeks from now, Sunday, December 5th at the same time. I'm going to be joined by Sienna Sky, who is a very talented decorator in SL, and RSVPs for that will be opening sometime in the next week or so. So make sure you stay tuned on social media and in the group for that. If you're not a member of our group, we have 2 group joiners, both sides of the stage. Feel free to click and join. It's where you get all the news and all the information, and we do a lot of giveaways in there too. So thank you guys again, Loz and Ria. It's been fun chatting to you. Thank you everyone for joining us, and everyone have a good night, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks.
Thank you.